Nick Maravets of Locked On Cyclones. What you know, man, about you live in the Midwest. What do you know about Sacramento State? The 20th.
Not a whole lot.
Well, let me tell you, the 20th largest media market in America. Adding Sacramento State gives you a nice new media market. How about they're building a massive new football stadium for a gajillion and gabillion dollars? And Sacramento State, being in Northern California, gives you the grip on not just California, but also a brand new time zone moving forward. Sacramento State is transitioning into the FBS, and some people have estimated their NIL to be $35 million. On top of that, they just hired Shaquille O'Neal as their general manager in basketball, and there were rumors they were going after high-caliber former NFL players like Michael Vick as their head coach in football. They've got the money. They've got the market. They've got the fan support. I think it would behoove a league like the Big 12 to jump before someone else does, to get in on the lottery ticket before everyone else buys into the lottery.
I think it's the perfect opportunity. It feels like, sometimes when you're looking at just landscapes as a whole, and you're kind of like, what can we do to really elevate? You need that X factor, right? You need to do something that just is a little bit out of the ordinary to really jump into that next level. The Big 12 is considered small, little brother to the SEC and the Big 10 for how many years now? What if this is the move that it might not make a whole lot of sense up front, but is what is actually a piece by piece kind of down the line move that can elevate the Big 12 into that same conversation? I don't know. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense up front. I understand that. But with Shaq on board, anything is possible.
Yeah, what you're going to have. People will see this headline. They'll see the comment section will light up saying, "Oh, this is stupid. What do these guys know?" This is like we've caught lightning in a bottle. Like, we knew that Puka Nacua was going to be a great NFL player before anybody else. We predicted something like that. We predicted Mr. Tom Brady's career, right? If any team has the knowledge that, what is 2020? The hindsight's 2020. If you had the hindsight to draft Tom Brady, everyone would go back and take Tom Brady. This is that caliber of football program. To me, considering they have now full membership in the FBS, considering the rumors of $30 million to build their roster via the NIL, which most Big 12 teams can't even sniff. Those things are massive. And the idea that a guy like Shaquille O'Neal has bought in, a guy like Michael Vick considered buying in. A lot of people are taking Sac State seriously, and they're about to play at a conference with UNLV and Air Force. And sure, Nevada is not this massive brand that everybody loves to talk about, but that UNLV, Air Force, like, those are schools that have been in consideration to make a jump, to move up, to level up in college football, and Sac State's already passed them in so many areas. I don't see how getting ahead of the curve can hurt you to a detrimental point.
I agree. And, beyond the football side of things, you look at basketball, obviously Shaq, basketball guy. I feel like we can all agree on
Lots
that.
of money too.
Yeah, a lot of money. Dude is a human too, like a very large human, which is, I feel like, a huge just plus. I don't really know how that equates to anything. I just think that's awesome. But when you look at, as soon as Shaq joins Sacramento in this whole deal, Mikey Williams from UCF, immediate commit, former 4-star, you're going to see a large kind of influx of talent just to be able to be in the same building as Shaq. And Big 12 being a predominantly basketball conference, let's not get too crazy here or too ahead of ourselves, but I wouldn't be too surprised if Sacramento State makes some moves up in the basketball side of things. Not so much the football, I get that. But in basketball, there's potential there. And for them to be in the conference that the Big 12, obviously the Big 12 conference, like, that could be a positive, right? They make the tournament, they make a few wins, boom, you're looking at potential new revenue there as well. I just feel like overall, it's not going to hurt you as much as some will think.
Yeah, this is according to Front Office Sports, the Sac-12, which is what they're calling themselves because they would love to jump to the Pac-12, eventually the Big 12. Their athletic director actually said their stretch goal is to become a member of the Big 12 in coming years. According to Front Office Sports, I was off on that number. They've actually raised $50 million in NIL. Most small schools could build their football stadium with that kind of money, and their goal in that is to reach the Pac-12 in the Mountain West for the time being. prove themselves with the resources of a conference in the FBS, and then jump to the Big 12 with their new goal being $75 million. They say they are at $60 million per Sacktown Sports that has already been raised as they build this new football stadium, trying to prove, hey, Sacramento is the kind of play where the A's are playing right now, where the Kings play. It's a pro sports market, and Sacramento State is making milestone moves to come into the FBS in a flashy fashion like James Madison did. They walked in and they won immediately. That's what Sac State wants to do. This is a move. I'm going to liken it vaguely to BYU, which I know is crazy, but NIL numbers wise, that kind of stacks up here. BYU got to the Big 12, and the second that the NCAA said, yeah, you can pay players, and yeah, you can go to the Big 12 and get way more money in TV revenue, BYU skyrocketed. They said, all right, well, we now have access to Power 4, Power 5 revenue. We're going to utilize that to build a great team and win. Nick, that might be the fuel you have to add to the fire. You give a school like Sac State, who is building the infrastructure right now, you give them the ticket to Power 4 resources and money. I think that's the catalyst to have a really strong member.
Absolutely. And especially when you consider if the Big 12 were to dive into this immediately, instead of letting them get to kind of that in-between level before they jump, the Pac-12, they're not really a Power 4 anymore per se. If they jump in now before anyone kind of puts them on their radar to say, obviously the ACC, it'd be a wild get for them, obviously with the Atlantic Coast Conference, but maybe the Big 10 or the SEC or whatever the case might be. The Big 12 can jump in right now. And also, we haven't talked about this. We talk about this sometimes. What about time zones? The Big 12 jumping into, I don't know if we have any on this. Is this the Pacific time zone? I don't even know if I know.
Arizona has the weird thing where sometimes they're mountain time, sometimes they're not. The Big 12 occasionally will say it has 4 time zones. It doesn't. Arizona
half the year. Yeah,
Arizona just doesn't do the daylight savings time thing, which I still don't know how to get around it. They're just like, you know what? No. For these few months, we are the West Coast. And I think federally, the law is like, I don't know if we can do anything about this. So
is this something we can stop?
This would unlock your first 12-month-a-year member who is in the Pacific time zone, yes.
I feel like that's a huge get because, yeah, obviously the East Coast dominates, but what about like what the Pac-12 after dark was, right? What if we start to venture into, because we've talked like, should the Big 12 explore playing on Fridays? Or when I was talking a couple weeks ago, like, what if the Big 12 plays on Wednesdays or something ridiculous just to get numbers up, to be able to boost those viewership numbers to get into this potential new 12-team playoff? If we can harness what the Pac-12 after dark was and bring that into the Big 12, obviously that's not going to help necessarily Iowa State per se, because it's not Iowa State's viewership numbers. But if Iowa State were to come out to Sacramento for a Pac-12 quote unquote after dark game, a Big 12 after dark game, I feel like that's something we should consider.
It's not a bad location. I've been Northern California is not a bad location. Sacramento would be it's a major market to add to your belt. Not to say that Waco's bad, not to say Ames is bad or Manhattan is bad, but having a major market it doesn't really hurt you. Looking at you, Boston College, who has stunk in a lot of sports, but because they're in Boston, they have the infrastructure to still be a semi-valuable member to a power conference. And that is something for them that has taken them a long-ish way. Nick, invigorating conversations today, and we will see you again on Thursday night on the Big 12 Squad Show on both your channel and the Locked On Big 12 channel. Where can folks find more of your work?
You can find us at Locked On Cyclones, your team every day, of course, and also at Nick_Marv on Twitter, putting out hot takes there, mostly cold takes, but cold takes can be heated up in the refrigerator. The microwave. The microwave, not the refrigerator.
Wow. You're going to put your cold takes in the refrigerator to heat them up. That's an example of a cold take.
Look at that. Look, we're literally in front of your eyes promoting the cold takes. This is rough.
Unreal. That is Nick Maravets of Locked On Cyclones. Go to him for your Iowa State stuff and just to be generally entertained. You had a video of like 30,000 views recently about the whole Rocco Beck deal, which is kind of rocks. Just saying, kind of rocks. This has been It Always Will Be a Crossover with Locked On. Thanks for making them your first listen every single day. Cyclones and Dose Grande.